Governor Mike Huckabee called for this Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and supporters coming out in droves to support the chicken chain after CEO Dan Cathy came under fire for supporting marriage between a man and a woman. Governor Mike Huckabee says this has nothing to do with gay rights and everything to do with free speech. Now, in his first interview since starting this wave today, he's here.
We're here for First Amendment free speech rights. That's it. And he had a right to say what he wanted to say.
The owner of this business expressed an opinion. People are free to boycott this business if they choose to. People are free to start businesses with opinions, and we're free not to shop there. That's what economic freedom and the 13th Amendment is about.
And I support Chick-fil-A. I think they're a good company, and besides, they're growing in Southern California. It's the one place that they're giving jobs.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Eric Bolling in for Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World, where this
Chick-fil-A's values are not Chicago values.
Is stirring up this pro-Chick-fil-A supporters turning out across the country today from California to Georgia to Texas and Chicago. And the guy who started it all visiting a Chick-fil-A today. It's also got Sarah Palin fired up, and she's here as well. But first to John Roberts right now outside of Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. John, it sounds like the crowds are huge.
The crowds were huge today at this Chick-fil-A. It's at the corner of Sidney Marcus and Piedmont. Hundreds upon hundreds of people coming in and out throughout the day. At lunchtime, not only was the restaurant itself jammed, but the lineup for the drive-thru looped around the building twice and then out into the streets. We talked to so many people who came here today. For many of them, because this is the South, it is the Bible Belt, they were showing their solidarity for the, quote, biblical traditions of marriage. But for many others, as you heard at the top of the show, Eric, they were here supporting the First Amendment, feeling that Dan Cathy should not have been criticized for his statement, a view that was essentially up until May the same as President Obama's. Here's what Debbie Young, a customer, told us earlier today.
I think it's sad that freedom of speech only applies when it's saying what you want to hear and you don't respect what other people. If other people have the beliefs I don't believe in, I'm not going to condemn you because of it. You have a right to your opinion just like we have a right to our opinion.
Now, many other customers that I talked to were very critical of the mayors of Chicago, Boston, and Washington, D.C. for not only speaking out against Dan Cathy and against Chick-fil-A, but also threatening retaliation. Stephen Lenahan, who came here with some of the people from his youth ministry for breakfast, told me, yeah, this is about freedom of speech, but he also sees something much broader and much darker here. He says he sees culture wars. Here's what he told me.
We've got a lot of politicians, and we've got a lot of people, pundits and bloggers from the left who are just making people that have traditional values out to be racist or bigots or hateful people, and they're not hateful people. They just understand the way that the world works and truth to be something different.
Linehan says that we are becoming a society where no one respects anyone else's opinion. Now, the other side of this had a bit of a counter-protest today, at least in the city of Chicago, when gay and lesbian groups urged people to dine at restaurants that support gay rights and gay marriage. And they'll get another kick at the can on Friday when at Chick-fil-A's across the country in 39 states, they will hold a same-sex kiss-in to express their support for same-sex marriage and their opposition to what Chick-fil-A's CEO Dan Cathy said. Eric?
All right, thank you very much. John Roberts outside Chick-fil-A in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, sir. Now the guy who started it all, former presidential candidate Mike Huckabee, joins me now by phone. Mike, first of all, did you ever expect it'd start something that would get this big this quickly?
No, Eric. I mean, this thing, we've had over 21 million views on my Facebook page. But this is a big day, not for Chick-fil-A, but for America and for people who believe that the First Amendment applies to everybody, including Christians, because I think a lot of people felt that if you're a Muslim and you take the position against same-sex marriage, Rahm Emanuel will put his arm around you in a public ceremony like he did to Louis Farrakhan the very day he was condemning Dan Cathy. And it's that hypocrisy and inconsistency and intolerance and bigotry toward Christians that I think a lot of people are just tired of.
All right, Mike, have you heard from Dan Cathy at all? I mean, he's the one who made the statement that really kind of started this movement on both sides. By the way, I think we're going to roll a couple of pictures in through here showing what's going on. But have you heard from Mr. Cathy?
No, I purposely had no contact with the company personally. I didn't want to make it look that I was coordinating some effort on their behalf. They never proposed this. They didn't promote it. There was no big PR effort. If there ever was a spontaneous grassroots initiative that happened because people felt that there was a basic sense of unfairness, this was that moment in the country people just responded because they thought, gee, if they can tell Dan Cathy to shut up and if mayors can censor him, then who's next?
Right.
And I think that's the way all of us feel.
And that's a great point. I mean, it's really more about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, not from religion. What about the mayor? You mentioned Rahm Emanuel. He seemed to come out very, very much against, in Chicago. He came out very much against this whole movement. Also, the mayor in Boston as well. Have you heard from either of them?
No, I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to ask them what government authority gave them the right to censor commerce in their communities because they disagreed with someone who worked there. I think a lot of times we need to remember that the country is built on the idea that commerce ought to happen. Let me just say this, Eric. The CEOs of Apple Computers, Starbucks, Ben & Jerry's, Amazon, all support same-sex marriage, have given generously to it. But, I still drink Starbucks. I use my iPhone and MacBook. I'll order things on Amazon, and I'll eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I'm not buying their politics. I'm buying their products. And I think people need to quit being so ridiculously fearful that somebody might have a point of view that's different than mine. I expect people to have a different one. I just expect them to treat each other with civility and a sense of respect.
Mike, have you heard from any of the, the gay and lesbian groups in support? I know there's going to be a kiss-in on Friday. I get that. But are there any groups that are saying, look, we're gay, we're lesbian, but we're also for the First Amendment, so we're in support of you, Huckabee?
Yeah, to their credit, I think there have been a number of groups that have said that. There have been editorials in the LA Times and the Boston Globe and the New York Times, of all places, all recognizing that this is a fundamental issue where a mayor can't tell some executive that he can't have a point of view. Now, there have also been some very hateful things. One of the reasons I got involved was because of the extraordinarily vile things said to Dan Cathy, which was hate speech, economic bullying, trying to disenfranchise him from his ability to make a living and make a living for thousands of Chick-fil-A employees. There have been people who wish me dead on my Facebook page, and they've said some evil things. But after 20 years in politics, I've said it's going to take a whole lot more than that to make me upset. I'll have to take half a baby aspirin tonight just to sleep through that.
Half a baby. All right, Huck. Thank you so much, sir. We'll speak to you again soon.
All right, Eric. Good to talk to you.
You too, sir.